short. Trying to kick a man out the church cause he smoked a Newport. Is it the fact I never knew my dad was raised by my mom? Used to sell drugs, puff L's, pop bottles of Don. Spent half of my life behind bars from doing crime. Is it the fact I got a king size calling up all my life? The healer sick, cast out demons and preach Christ. Is it the fact that I'm a soldier, Jehovah's bulldozer with the Holy Ghost to crush the serpent's head like a boulder? Every day is getting colder, get this weight up off my shoulder. I can tell you the last time I was sober, called my mom and told her, I need help. And sometimes I feel like I ain't gonna make it. But I'm gonna make it. Because I worship the maker.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. We're in the house. We're in the house. So I'm looking at my producers in the back. Y'all are good back there. Everything all right? All right. I got the thumbs up. Thumbs up. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Soul Therapy Live podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. Dre, Dr. AM, as some would affectionately like to say it. And I also have my co-host over here. Ben Graham is in the house, aka Boogie, aka Amir, aka Mr. Eaton. How's everybody doing? Hopefully you are enjoying yourself as we're going into our very, our very interesting podcast. I hope it is interesting to you. And so, as always, Soul Therapy Live's intent is to basically make sure that you understand and realize that, as believers, as people who walk this life, there's going to be different perspectives that we're going to have on different things, right? And so, whether it's current events, things that's happening in sports, families, our goal in this podcast as we go into season number 2, as we go into season number 2, the whole goal is to really bring some insight into, what is going on in the world and things of that nature. So I got an opening scripture, and then we'll go ahead and get into it for tonight. So tonight's scripture is going to come from out of Romans chapter 12, and it's going to be in the, let's see if I have the different types of versions. I'm going to put it in the New King James Version. And it says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies as a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. And do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. And so very first, before we get started, I just want to thank all of our sponsors out there. First sponsor is going to be Divine Truth Christian Center, where we love God and love people. We have services on Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m. And we also have Wednesday night Bible study at 7 o'clock p.m. And that's typically going to be on our second and fourth Wednesdays. On our first and third Wednesday is going to be My Time with God, which is going to be on our third Wednesday. And then on our first Wednesday, that's when we have our podcast, right? And so tonight is our first Wednesday in February. We would have had an episode in January, but how many of you know that it's good to take a break? It's good to take a break, right? And so we wanted to take January off. We had a fierce winter storm for Florida, that lasted about how many weeks? Like 2 weeks? About 2 weeks, yep. It was about 2 weeks or so. And so outside of that, it's just been a wonderful time. And so as we begin to move forward, the very first thing that I, again, wanted to share is that those are our services time. Once again, 10:30 a.m. and 7 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday nights. Second and fourth Wednesday is our Bible study. First Wednesday podcast. Third Wednesday is going to be My Time with God. So if you ever want to stop by for prayer or any of our things that we got going on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, then feel free to come through. Now, when it comes to our podcast night, it's more of a asynchronous type of thing. Things may start at different times because this is really a live studio audience. And so, again, we welcome everybody as you are talking even on today. And so as we move forward, if those of you are watching at home, please make sure that if you can't hear me too well or if the volume is a little bit low, just let me know and we'll make sure that you can hear me. So just if you watch it online, just let us know and our engineers will make sure that everything's taken care of. Our second sponsor is going to be Truth Learning Academy. Truth Learning Academy, where your light shines bright. We are enrolling students for our 2023 year. That doesn't even sound right. It's like it's almost has like I still feel like it's 1999 or something like that, 1998 or 1997. That's how I feel in my brain.
Yeah.
But in reality, that is not the case. And so, again, if you are looking for childcare for your preschoolers and you also want them to have faith-based curriculum, awesome teachers, safe environment, great play area, things are accessible in regards to payments. Things are very convenient, wonderful staff. They come and check us out. They are located also here at the facility, which is at 350 Anchor Road, Suite 1050, in the beautiful city of Castleberry, Florida. We are a licensed preschool, and if you want to reach out to them, you can visit them on their website at www.truthlearningacademy.org, or you can call them at 407-807-0701. So now we have a couple of topics that we want to get into on tonight, and the very first one is our section called Wave After Wave. Wave After Wave is basically where we get a whole bunch of different topics that we talk about that may be going on in the world or in the industry. So if you get a quick close-up of me wherever you are right now, we're going to get a little bit of foolishness. And so I have my flags right here. The flag is going to be a penalty, and then this one is going to be a challenge. All right. The penalty is a violation from somebody that does something silly online or even in here. And then this is a challenge. In other words, sometimes if you want to disagree, you're just going to just throw out the challenge flag. Well, we're just going to throw it out here. And then I also have boxing gloves. So you might also see this little Everlast thing right over here in the corner. Well, every now and then, if there's something that really, really gets me heated and I want to do things and calm things down, you might just see me just pound on that a little bit. I don't know when that's going to happen, but let's just say it's a good prop, all right? And so, so if Amir wants to do it, he could just tap it like one time, and then all the stress is gone. And so our very first topic is the following, which is going to be, guess what? We have a Super Bowl that is coming up on February the 12th. Is that right? It's February the 12th and it's 6:15. And we are actually advertising it through our ministry in regards to a Super Bowl party, which is going to be February the 12th, 2023, starting at 6 o'clock p.m. We'll be meeting in the Empire Center right over here next door, and it is open to the public. Men, you could bring your sons, you could bring your significant others, and I know that ladies like football too, at least sometime. And so for my ladies, if you're an avid football fan, our arms are open to you. If you only want to see Rihanna for halftime, then you could come at halftime, and then you could leave after halftime is over with. Because we want to watch the game for the duration. And the reason why this is such an important game, it's really not about the Eagles versus the Chiefs. For many people, those teams are definitely dynamite. The Eagles beat the Giants. I knew that they were going to beat them. I thought that we were going to have a miraculous time, but I think that we would have got. You said flag on the flag. What was your team?
My team is the Cowboys.
Oh no, double! I didn't even know that. Are you serious? Oh my goodness! So we had a mole inside. Wait a minute. See, America. I never, ever, ever knew that is a little known Black history fact.
Listen, I just pulled that out, didn't I?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So well, we have an opening as another co-host for tonight because he's a Cowboys fan, but it's okay because as long as you guys have Snack Prescott, you won't be going anywhere. So the main idea for tonight, what's more important is that with Jalen Hurts and also Patrick Mahomes, the reason why it's such a significant time, because, it's always, Super Bowl's been going on for many times. But the main significance of this one is that both of these are African-American descendants, right? And so this is significant. I remember that years ago, they're not the first African-Americans to go to the Super Bowl as far as quarterback position is concerned, because Doug Williams did it in 1987, 1988, with the Buccaneers, and that was just like phenomenal at my time. My parents remember that to this day. I was still kind of young at that time. I wasn't really into football that much, especially when it comes to the Buccaneers, because I was like a New York Giants fan because of Lawrence Taylor. Super Bowl shuffle around that time, but Doug Williams was actually one of the first ones, and there have been many black quarterbacks that have been in the league since then. But I was listening to Undisputed with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless, and Shannon Sharp was sharing how there were some GMs that were, around during his time when he was in the pros, and they had reservations about black quarterbacks because they said that while they may be physically fit for the job, mentally, because the quarterback is a mental position, that's not something that they are built for or suited for. And he left the general manager's name as being anonymous. Don't even know if they're still applicable. But those closed door room conversations are really what a lot of people think. And so, from Warren Moon to Randall Cunningham, there Michael Vick, Jameis Winston, we've had a lot of black quarterbacks since that time that have come through the league, and it's becoming more and more common, even as you go through college. Because most of the time in college, it'll be wide receiver, running back, defense. That's pretty much it. Quarterback, no. And so it's a testament to the brilliance that they have had on the field. Like I said, they beat both of our teams, so again, kudos to them because I'm a New York Giants fan. But most importantly, the reason why this is historical is because never at any other time in sports history has there been two African American quarterbacks that have or are facing each other. Never happened before at all. And I'm proud of them. I really hope the best for them, and things of that nature. So that's pretty much all I had to say about that. If you want to come out, make sure that you come on out.
I think it's pretty dope because it's like when you look at the whole Super Bowl in a whole, to me, it's being driven by black people. I mean, the entertainment's black. The people who brought the entertainment there, he's black. You got the two black quarterbacks. It's going into Black
Super
History
black quarterback.
and then it's going into Black History Month. So I think right now it's just an all-time win for black people all the way around.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a win for win. We need some good news, and we'll be talking about some of that. But before we get into more of the serious topics, once again, I just want to just give a quick little shout out to these brothers for making it. It is not easy to get to the Super Bowl at all. It's grueling. It's very, very difficult. Jalen Hurts' story is just amazing. Came from Alabama, got cut, had to go to another team. All of those other different types of things, and then just for him to be able to make it to the Super Bowl and also having a dynamite team and all of those things is absolutely significant. And so, again, shout out to them as we move forward.
They didn't even want him.
No, they didn't want
They
him.
didn't
They
want
talk trash, and paying in Philadelphia is not easy, whether it's the 76ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, even some of the hockey teams. It's really a harsh crowd, right? And, with 76ers, they haven't been good since Dr. J, right? Well, they have Joel Embiid, but, it's all about the championship. And so, again, shout out to both of those brothers. I'll be watching from the snap all the way until the very end. And again, young men, young women, whoever you may be, both near and far in the Castleberry area, Altamont Springs, Orlando, come on out and meet us on 6 o'clock p.m. on February the 12th. And we will also be crowning our champion of fantasy football, which is JT, also known as Jakiris. He is the brother that beat all of us when it came to fantasy football. He edged me out at the very end. I was doing good, and then all of a sudden I got distracted with all my picks, and he took me out at the very, very end. And so we will also be presenting him with a $100 gift card as well as the trophy for the fantasy football season. Next up, we also have the next area, which is Beyonce. Now, Beehive, before it gets too much now. So, about a week or so ago, I believe that she went to Dubai. Now, Dubai has now become a really hot place as far as vacations are concerned. It's definitely very popular among African Americans, young people. If you got a little bit of bread, it is. Make sure that you go. It's a great great destination. They treat you like kings and queens. They have their customs, so you do have to be aware of that. But for the most part, if you want to see opulence and all of that and high rollers, like for real high rollers, you thought there was high rollers over here. No, that it is very different over there, which leads me into the topic where Beyonce did a surprise concert for the Hotel Atlantis. I've been to the Atlantis in the Bahamas, but this is a different Atlantis that is also in Dubai. And for 1 hour, she got 25, I want to say $24.9 million or $25 million just for 1 hour. Now, I don't know about you, but if somebody gave me $25 million for 1 hour, you better believe I'm gonna be right there on the plane. And there was a little bit of controversy because there were some communities where the same-sex community, they were feeling some kind of way about it. There was others that were looking at human rights as far as the treatment of women. So you had a lot of these different types of groups that were trying to uh, discredit her even being there in the first place. And I think that what has happened nowadays is that our celebrities are not politicians. You don't vote them in or vote them out. I don't know about you, but if as long as if I'm just making music or if I'm making a speech about academics, I'm gonna go anywhere unless it's just something that is just so over the top, egregious, and it's like me. It's like me basically saying I want to be a part of the Ku Klux Klan. That's how bad. And even then, even then, I was just saying it's just skits. I'm gonna get me that $25 million. I know, and I understand that the American cycle of news is the maximum of 2 weeks. I'm not worried about. Beyonce is like, I'm not worried about. I'm pretty sure Jay-Z was like, you know what, B.
Straight up. We finna get on this plane, B.
You know what, B? You better get that 25 million.
Yeah, for real.
So I'm gonna get that 25 million no matter what. I think that what we have to be careful of. This is just my little comment about this, and then we'll move on. I think we have to really be careful about counting other people's pockets, money in other people's pockets. I think there's a boundary there. I think that we also need to separate an entertainer from a person who's like a civic leader or a governmental figure or a pastor, somebody like that. These people are in it to make money for themselves and also entertain their constituents, right? Not everybody that you look up to is going to make you happy, and not everybody, she doesn't have to appeal to everybody, right? So, again, she probably had a lot of those comments, but because we're in a TikTok, Snapchat generation where you only look at a video for like 20 minutes, as soon I just 1 week, and then it went away. And she still got that $25 million, and she's gonna put 2.5 million of that inside a Blues account, her baby's account. She is good, right? So that's why I think that I don't see anything wrong with it. Like I said, there's always going to be people that's going to disagree with something that you have to say, but I'm gonna take my money. I'm going straight to the bank.
Say like, once you go in the house and you close the door, everybody that's talking, they don't even matter no more. You know what I mean? So you gotta do what you gotta do for these four walls right here. You know?
Yeah.
And that's 25 mil. She didn't got that. And then this week she announces her tour.
Wow.
You feel what I'm saying? So
Yes.
she finna go recoup some more money, and it's just like, man, at the end of the day, Beyonce moving how Beyonce need to move.
Yeah.
And that's exactly.
I think she's a brilliant entertainer. I think that she makes really good music. I know there's a debate as far as like if she's the best singer. Well, you kind of have to. I think that as far as a woman is concerned, you got to kind of put her into the category of a Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson has dynamite vocals, but I wouldn't say that he could sing better than Luther Vandross, right? But as far as entertaining is concerned, she is the top. In my opinion, as far as entertainer, I think that she is the number one top black. I would even say even beyond that, the number one female entertainer in the world right now. I would argue that. Now there may be others, Shakira and other things like that, but I know that she's the number one black female artist, and it could be argued that she's the number one female artist and with the queen of pop, whatever type of title that you want to give to her. I think that she's having, especially now that she's 40 now. I remember with bills, you gotta pay my bills. I remember with bills. And I remember that stuff came out like back in the day. So more power to you, more power to you and your family. I know that there's going to be people that are gunning for you, and most of all, I hope and pray that their souls are right with God. Whenever that happens, I'm not going to judge her either way. I just say more power to you, and I'm going to celebrate.
Yeah.
All right. And so next up, we also have Tom Brady retires. Just another quick little sports note. So Tom Brady, after how many years? How many years has it been,
23.
Al? Forever?
23
Since
years.
you've been in elementary school?
Yeah.
Before Carrington was born, when she was in elementary school, for me, he came into the league 20 some odd years ago. So basically, we're the same age. He's going to be 46 years old this year, and I'll be 48 this year. Even I don't feel it, but I feel it sometimes, especially when I'm standing up. I have to sit down for a long time. So he's going to be out as the quarterback. I think it was time. I think he heard enough people saying that your arm is not as strong as it used to be, and I think there's a difference between way that you physically feel and then your brain. Because I can attest to this even right now. I feel young because my brain is like this. But when I start running, like how I tried to run back in high school, nah, it's time to wrap it up, boss.
Yeah,
So again, Tom Brady has been one of my mortal enemies as far as the sports world. So for you, sir, you still get a red flag. I would. Some people would say, is he the greatest of all time? I don't know. I think that he is definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think that he is one of the number one quarterbacks that are out there. But I think that when you talk about greatest of all time, you have to put his statistics and also just the teams that you win against, which you win against plenty. He has 7 of them. But you also have Joe Montana. Joe Montana is kind of like still like my number one, but he probably would tell you that Tom Brady is number one. So I think that after Tom got that Super Bowl in Tampa without Bill Belichick, I think that puts him at number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say Tom is not the best player, but would you say he was the greatest quarterback? Well, you said Joe Montana.
Yeah.
He's your one.
See, I think that I would even, I think that
Take stats out. We just say the player.
the player, no. I think that he is the best mental quarterback as far as in football IQ. I would put him like a number one as far as football IQ.
Okay.
But I also think that if Patrick Mahomes has already been to the Super Bowl like 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And you could correct me on that, Al. If Patrick Mahomes has been to almost to the Super Bowl, the AFC Championship, so he won one, and he's only been in the league 5 years, and he's been to the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl in each one of those last 5 years.
Yeah.
And he could possibly win it now, and that'll be 2 for him. And he's not even what? He's not even 28, 27, 26, none of those things as of yet. And so right now, people are already saying that Patrick Mahomes would go to the Hall of Fame if he quit for today because he's up there. But Patrick Mahomes, I don't know if he's going to get 7, but if he plays like he's playing and he gets some superstars, he could probably get 7 too, and he could even surpass him. So I'll put it this way. If Patrick Mahomes got 7 and Tom Brady has his 7, Patrick Mahomes will be number 1 because his athletic ability is beyond Tom Brady.
Saying it here.
Yeah, his
7
athletic
probably
ability.
would look better than Tom's did.
Yeah. So as far as like when you look at the total package, comprehensive, that's what I would look at. But as of right now, as far as just pure quarterback IQ, winning mentality, always tearing up teams left and right, I honestly have to just take my hat off to him, and I say, you sir, you are the greatest quarterback of all time as of right now.
Yeah.
As of right now, definitely one of the winnings.
I like Brady. Brady put up some numbers, but one thing that
You trade him for Dak.
oh for sure, right now, yeah, Dakota Rain, you gotta go, my brother.
Oh my goodness, you gonna get rid of Dakota, man?
Yeah, Dakota.
He's
gotta
suspect
go, man.
because his name is Dakota.
Yeah,
too.
hey, listen, I was saying that, man. I was like, man, his name Dakota, man. Like,
You ain't got no Dak Prescott jerseys.
nope.
Hey,
never
does
thought
Mike
about
have a
buying
Dak
one.
Prescott jersey? Y'all seen him with that jersey on? I don't know, Mike. If you watch it tonight, as you over there, on the other side of town, if you have a Dak Prescott jersey, it's gonna be on the clearance rack in a couple of weeks. They gonna figure out some kind of way to get rid of that man. All right.
Yeah.
No, they can't get rid of him because they paying him $40 million a year. He ain't going nowhere. He's gonna be there. Jerry's gonna come out of his grave just like this. Dak. Well, I just wanted to know that I'm looking for a Super Bowl. Jerry's on his last legs. He's trying to win one. I don't know if it's gonna happen. Definitely not gonna happen with
Not with Dak. Dak suspect, man.
that. It's suspect.
He is suspect.
And so I don't think Tom Brady's going to come back after all of this. I think that my prayer for him is that he reconciles with his family. You know,
That's what I was
yes, they got a divorce, but I also believe that people can get remarried. It happens all the time, right? And I think that he's going to have to make a major adjustment to not having his life center around one thing, right? It's very important, and that's a sign to men and women that your careers will end, but the impact that you'll have on your family will go on for generations.
Because you know he got that contract now with Fox or whatever for $375 million.
Yeah,
To be a broadcaster.
yeah.
Like, is that gonna be a stationary job, or is he gonna be back on the move?
I don't know. I think that Tom would be in the category. I would put him in the category of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And I think that Tom will never be away from football. I don't think that he needs to be a coach, just like Mike can't be a coach, because there's one thing to be a player with all those talent, skills, and God-given abilities, and then there's a teacher. And Tom don't look like he like to teach, just like Michael Jordan ain't no teacher, right? They just tell you. I do see that if Tom got a group together, that he could probably own a team.
Yeah.
I see him probably being an owner of a team one day, because you do a good broadcast contract for several years. I could see him in his 60s buying one of those NFL teams, him and a group of other people. I do see that. And I would even venture to say Robert Kraft would probably sell him the team if he ever decided to sell it. You know, that's just my opinion. So I see him as more of an owner role, owner of a team, or just being like Joe Montana, where he just disappeared from the game completely.
Yeah.
He didn't do no commentary. It's almost like, coming to the top of the mountain, be like, hey, I've won everything. I don't even think that he's going to be around the sport at all. I think he's just going to totally just stay away from it, or he's going to own a team and just immerse himself and just make his life football for the next 30 years.
Well, he gotta fix that home situation first. Cause when I saw
Yeah.
the video and I seen him about to cry and all that, first thing I said was go ahead and cry. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and cry. But then when you get off this thing, you need to go get your wife back. Like,
Yeah.
Because now that you home and you situated and everything, go get your wife back, man.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an adjustment. I think that it's going to take several months for him to kind of just detox. I think that it'll all sink in when the new season starts and everybody's playing and he's at home. And when you start that I will be looking and seeing how he processes things when he does not get when he's home while everybody else is playing.
Yeah.
That's when it's going to sink in.
Yeah.
That's when it's going to sink
Yeah.
in. All right. And now we have another hot topic. This is another hot topic. I'm going to have to Woo-wee. And so in the state of Florida, there has been a lot of talk about an AP course, an advanced placement course for African American studies, right? And within this coursework, there has been a lot of controversy. I even heard it this weekend when I was at a conference about there being a lot of people of color that are very upset with the fact that the state of Florida, or Governor DeSantis, and some of the people who are in the education arena do not want this to go forward, right? And if you look at things on the surface, it seems like something that is very hateful, racist, et cetera, right? However, when I typically ask people, I was like, okay, well, what do you think is the content of the actual course, right?
So that was something Sorry to cut you off, my brother. That was something that I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you two things. One, did you take that course? And two, like, what is the basis of that course? Because the one thing that I heard that one of the reasons why he wanted to take it down was because of, in it they talk about stuff like gayism, right? And when I say gayism, I mean like this. So the example that was brought to me was like, a guy plays a role in the movie of a gay person. What does that do to his mind after he's played that role? You know what I mean? So like stuff like that. I heard that they was talking about stuff like that inside of it, but I really don't know what they talk about in that course.
Yeah, and so if you look on I have it on the screen right there, and those of you at home, you can also see it on the screen as well. So the first thing, let's separate truth from fiction. First of all, there is a difference between African American history and then African American studies. African American history has been in our classroom since I've been in school. It may not have always been very good, but I learned about Medgar Evers, Carter G. Woodson, Martin Luther King. Malcolm X was kind of skipped over a little bit when I was coming through, because I was coming through in the 80s and whatnot in elementary school. But then when I went to FAMU, I learned about all of them. Okay, and then some, some really, really, really key people. But that African American history class is different than this right here, according to what they are saying. I'm not giving an opinion on either way. And so according to what they are saying, some of their concerns are based around some of the classes, right? So it's more than just the diaspora, more than just from slavery up until now or prior to slavery and things of that nature. I mean, I could even add some other stuff from a biblical perspective or faith-based perspective, going way to King Izana and other things that we talked about during African American History Month. But his disagreement is in these couple of areas. So the very first area is topic 4.15, and it's a whole big giant curriculum. And in that particular curriculum, it's talking about intersectionality and activism. The second area is Black queer studies. The third one is movements for Black lives, which I think that that's still pretty good. The next one is Black feminist literary thought. Number 6 is the reparations movement. I think that that is awesome, just my own personal opinion. And then the next one is Black study and Black struggle in the 21st century. So out of all of those, I think that there's some that could be argued for, and I think there's some others that kind of push the narrative.
Yeah.
Now, here is the underlying narrative, and then you could chime in. As many of you all know, the Black Lives Matter movement had an overarching narrative, which is the protection, the safeguard, the well-being of Black people on the surface, right? However, underneath that, and this is, I have to speak, truth to power, underneath that, there was a alternative lifestyle. There's the people who lead of the alternative lifestyles. And so while the overarching theme is for the betterment and care of African people, they are also trying to add in some of the other components of Black Lives Matter, which is really against the Black family.
Yeah.
The nuclear unit of one man and one woman. And some of this is not even liberation theology, if you will, but liberalism, primarily European liberalism in blackface. That's just where I'm coming from, right? And so I do not believe, me personally, that those type of topics dealing with sexuality or things that are centered around a political party should be taught in the classroom, because therefore you have some type of bias. Because if you look at the, I call it the manifesto, or all of the details from Black Lives Matter as far as the organization, which is separate from the life of a Black person mattering, which I'm all for, then you'll see that this is a roundabout way to get more of that platform across, because minds are impressionable and things of that nature. So I think that, we have to be very careful about forcing what we think. I think that the classroom should be factual, biology, science, anatomy. Now, this is a voluntary class, but most when you see things like this, stuff like this should not be controversial because if it was just about facts and figures and absolute history, but when you're trying to push a narrative that's very similar to Black Lives Matter as the organization, which is from a biblical perspective, really contrary to the teachings of Jesus Christ, and a lot of people who have of other faiths who do not ascribe to that, that it's going to create a lot of consternation.
Yeah.
Now, that's just from a biblical perspective.
I mean, with this whole topic, I went to a trade school. I cut hair, you know what I mean? So I never really went to a college to even know what was in this course. So when I first heard it, I was like, man, he trying to erase the history of black people.
That's what everybody thought.
Yeah.
That's what everybody thought. And I thought that, but I was like, wait a minute. We've been learning black history for a long time. And there's people, I had an African American studies class. I had, some titans that were at Florida A&M University. And it was just like walking black history everywhere around there, at all of the HBCUs. But this is at the high school level. And you get college credit for it at the high school level. And high school starts at 9th grade or 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are still discovering who they are around that specific area. I still believe that parents are the ones who should teach their children about all things from sexuality, whether it's same sex, opposite sex, what have you. I think those things are sacred and those should be in the confines of the parents' household.
Yeah.
Right? And between those children, whatever their outlook is on. I do not believe that those type of things, which is really a part of a platform from, the large political scheme, I don't think that those things should be included.
Yeah.
I do want to know about our history, but I don't want to be told how I should think about that history.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, when you break it down, like that, I understand that because I would rather know about my history than to know about, like, I'm not saying that this is like an opinion, but it's almost like an opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to like you say, the classroom should be something factual so that when I leave here, I got facts that I can stand on. You know what I mean? But when I saw this, man, it's like I said, I thought he was just trying to erase black people, man. But
yeah,
I was like, there's going to be a lot of people that's going to think this is a very strong move because once I started to see all of this, I'm like, well, then they probably feel like they're trying to pollute our minds or force a thought on us, you know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like he does, in a sense, kind of want us to develop our own mind and our own opinion. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, I feel like this is a little bit of a control factor. But
yeah, I think that reparations should be discussed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, definitely, I even had a proposal. I was like, people who start a business should be tax-free for the next 40 years. You don't have to give us anything, but, if you don't want to give us any money, let us not pay taxes for like 40 years if you can trace your ancestors all the way back to the African diaspora.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
That's just an idea. I don't know. I'm not smart enough for all those other things like that. But I would also say, you know what? If there's something about black feminism, I would just say, hey, no problem, teach that class, but also teach about the importance of the father in the household. As the counter view to that, right?
Yeah.
Right. Because we need the black male inside of the household. We need to have that. We don't need to black people, whether you believe it or not. I firmly believe that there are certain things in our culture that we do not need to adopt. Our strongest unit is the black family. God-fearing black family, me personally, but definitely the black family, man, woman, children. That's it.
Yeah.
Not the government substituting the man and pulling him out and saying you can make it without him like they did in the 70s and 80s. And then adopting a Eurocentric liberal type of worldview when it comes to these different types of topics. And then because we want platforms in democratic circles when we start running for office, then we're just going to just let things like that happen. And then compromising our own ideals. right?
Yeah.
So if we're going to teach our history, we need to teach all of it, all of the African kings, Mansa Musa. That should be inside of the curriculum, the whole 9 yards, right? So I think we just need to be careful. And so, yeah, just like you said on the surface, I thought he was just trying to get rid of black people and erase all of our history. But
Yeah, I mean, just even you going what you went into, I'm like, boy, that's gonna be a tough class.
yeah, man.
And who
Yeah.
gonna teach it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's like you got the Kevin Samuels on one side with all the misogyny and things like that, and that particular perspective, and then you got other side, which is all about black female feminism, and we don't need any man. That is not a part of our history. As I said before, feminism and even chauvinism, those two toxic mindsets are not indigenous to. It takes a village, is what our ancestors were a part of. It takes a village, the husband, the man being part of that environment, taking care of the woman taking care of the man, they being co-equal partners, not one dominating over the other, not this psychological, secular aspect to where I'm just independent and I can have children without you. I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need you. But yet you still having sons. And then we have this wave of effeminate men. So we don't need that. We need, you know what I want to see from our legislature? More programs for black fathers to be a part of their children's lives, constructive, more young father programs, more incentives for people who do have children when they're young to stay together, more tax incentives for things like that so that the families can stay together. As long as they're healthy, no abuse, none of those things like that. Parenting classes, and we have a lot of these things that are in place. I think we should emphasize that. All right, so that was kind of a heavy one right there.
Yeah.
And then topic number 3, we also have the next one up, which is, the death of Terry Nichols by black police officers. I preached about it this Sunday, but this was a doozy, man. You heard a lot of things online about, this was personal. Maybe somebody knew somebody that knew somebody. I think we have to wait until all the facts come out first. But, the streets be talking.
Yes, they do.
The streets be talking. And I just can't imagine somebody that looks like you beating you to death like that with all them people. It's almost like you got jumped. Like if you see a group of black dudes jump another black dude, you getting jumped because you crossed them or you doing some street justice or vigilante or things like that. But, I hope that the narrative that's on the internet is not true. Did you hear about that? About one of the police officers had an ex, couldn't get back with him, and this young man was dating him.
Yeah.
And he sent a picture of this young man in his beaten condition to the ex to try to hurt her. Now, that is some twisted stuff.
Yeah.
And I hope to God that that's not true.
Yeah. I heard that in the barbershop the other day. Like, he had a connection to one of the men, and I guess he was dating the ex-girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what kind of made it personal.
I don't understand that. If this were true, my whole thing is that sometimes you just need to just leave people alone.
Yeah.
Leave them alone. If they don't want you no more, then, I can understand you trying to get her back. But once she says, I move on with my life, and you have the X category, then leave them alone. You don't need to make it dangerous. Because now, who knows what you said to all of the other dudes in order to get them to do that? Because I would have been like, why am I going to do this? I was like, bruh, you are super duper insecure. You crazy. Are you serious? So there's no telling what could have happened, the manipulation. All I know is that those brothers had no business doing that at all.
And it's like, I was in the shop today before I came, and there was a dude there, and his baby moms just started dating somebody different.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sitting in there, he's mad. Today is the kid's birthday. They finna go out and do some things, but I guess the boyfriend's gonna be there. He's sitting in the shop, and he's like, man.
Human?
Yeah, he's like, man, I'd be wrong if I go throw hands with him, right? And we all looked at him like, why would you even think that? Like, why would you even? That shouldn't even be. Why you finna go mess up the whole party, and probably go to jail over some feelings.
Bro, what are you doing, man?
If she's already dating somebody new, you gotta, and And it's like he isn't. I'm like, I know what he does for business, right? And he's pretty good with what he does. I'm like, bro, your stature is up there. Dude is probably not even doing as good as you, so you gonna lose a
Lot to lose.
trying to act on an emotion. And when I looked at this whole thing, the first few minutes of the video was key. They stopped him, pulled him out of the car. As soon as they pulled him out of the car, they detained him. And they say he got out of the car and he ran. Before he ran, he was detained and they was already beating on him. You know what I mean? And then you can look at his face. The way he looked at him was like, why are you doing this?
Like, really?
You know what I'm saying?
Bro, really?
Like, that's like you sitting at home and you got a dog and your dog is just doing everything it's supposed to be doing. Then you just start beating. He gonna look at you like, what's up, man?
Yeah, man.
Like, what you doing? And then when he started running, I paid attention to this video because I have these same scares. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a guy, really, truth be told, like, I drive in a certain radius. And I drive in a certain radius for a reason. It's because I know what cops I want to deal with and what cops I don't want to deal with. You know what I mean? And, like, when you look at this, I thought back to when I got into that accident. And the first thing that happened, it was 2:30 in the morning now. When I got into the accident, after I got hit, I got out the car, I called my friend. First thing I said to him, I said, I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail. It's 2:30 in the morning. I'm black. Of course, you know, I had been drinking a little bit, whatever. And then the dude that hit me was a white dude. And then when all the police came, they were all white. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I'm just like, I'm going to jail. And a black dude walked up to me. It was a black police officer. And I'm sitting there. And the first thing he said to me was, are you okay? And I was like, yo, that's crazy. I snapped into it. I was like, yo, that's crazy because nobody else worried if I was okay or not. You know what I mean? I had a passenger in the car. Only thing they worried about is her. So, cool. They on her. Cool. Nobody asked me how I'm doing, are you okay, anything. It took a black officer to walk up to me. And I knew when he walked up to me and said something, I dropped my guard a little bit. But when I saw all of those white police officers, man, I was just like, this ain't, because I don't trust them. I always feel like it's something bad that's finna happen. So when I seen this, and then you see it's black on black, I'm just like, man, it's like, well, who do we trust now? You know what I mean? Who do we trust?
Man, the message I preached this Sunday was, it be your own people. Sometimes it be your own people. And it's more of a deep-rooted thing because then you start thinking about how some of the slave masters had some of the certain slaves to beat them by their own people, to break their spirits, right? So this is like a deep-rooted thing, like psychologically speaking. And, you know, people get jumped. I remember when I was in middle school, I got jumped by a bunch of dudes because I was just trying to talk to a girl. So it happens, man, and I did not win. I mean, it's kind of hard to fight 5 against 1, right? So these hands I ain't got an octopus. I'm not heavily armed like octopus. That was a dad joke. You see that? You see that heavily armed? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, octopus. But anyway, I know that was like really, really bad because I would have lightened up a little bit. But that's always going to be something that's going to go on. There's always going to be people that's going to be upset about certain things, but you have to practice self-control. That's one of the fruit of the spirit, right?
Yeah.
It's self-control. And no matter what, there should have been some gentleman that shouldn't have been such a follower that should have just said, hold on, bro. I know you're trying to teach. Even if he was just like into it, I know you're trying to teach him a lesson, but we don't need to do this. We don't need to do this.
Yeah. I mean, it was number of followers out there.
Yeah. I was like, come on, y'all. I mean, was he, you know, and that's why we have to wait until more of the details. Was this person in authority? Did this person plant something on him? Did this person just escalate things? No, man, especially as a black male, we are supposed to be our brother's keeper. You're supposed to have a different level of compassion when it comes to people that look like you. Because once that line of trust has been breached, then you can forget it. You can forget it. I'm sorry, brother officers, but you all are the true sellouts. I just keep it 100. Just keeping it 100.
And it's like, I heard him saying, I was watching the video talking about it, and they were saying, like, once you cross over to this right here, you become like we become the enemy. Meaning like because you're a black police officer, you now look at me like I'm the enemy because I'm probably looking at you like you the enemy. You know what I mean? And it's like nowadays I look at it like this because I've had so many run-in with the police. Like if you ever see me next to a police officer, I won't say nothing.
Mm.
And part of the reason why I won't say nothing is because it's like, truth be told, I don't trust what you finna do from second to second.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm from a bigger city, so I'm from South Florida. The police out there are way worse and way bigger.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's just like I was looking at this video, man, and it was a point, right, when you seen. I think this was the guy who had the issue, right? So it was two things that I saw in that point. One, a lot of them, you see, there's a point where they pretty much are covering their body cam, and they're telling him to stop resisting, all this other stuff. So they're creating their own narrative already.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, like I seen the dude. I mean, so they got him detained. They got some dudes holding him, and then you got a dude soccer kicking the man in his head. And then when they pull out the baton, they beat him with the baton. If you ever felt that baton, that thing ain't nothing soft. You know what I'm saying? And then when they pick him up, those haymakers that they was hitting them with, that's like Mike Tyson punching your son in the chest. That's finna hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's finna hurt. And then it's like the point when they say he was.
I think I need to stand up and start beating up on that thing right now because this stuff make because this stuff make my blood boil, man. Because it's like, you know, I many of you all know that I'm a chaplain of the Casper Police Department, and one of the main reasons why I became a chaplain is to talk to officers, be that positive influence, be an outlet for them to talk if they so choose about things. Some of them have approached me. Some of them have not. Many of them have not, because, you know, you still have the blue line, right? And so my goal is to try to bridge that gap with our police officers and the community at large. And we are fortunate that at least here in Castleberry, there is a very strong community policing element. And it definitely depends on where you go. And the police chief, Larry Krantz, for his credit, he has really made sure. He marched with us when we had the prayer and peace walk with George Floyd, and he talked about bad policing and the database and things of that nature. And he's not had any incidences, at least to my knowledge, inside of his department during his tenure. But there should be more of that. The part that aggravates me so much is a black police chief and black police officers in the heart of Memphis. Now, I understand that there's some knuckleheads out there, and you got to handle some people sometime when they just wrong. But this, it reminds me of that police officer that pulled over Doughboy and that other person that from, what is it, Menace to Society?
Yeah,
was that Menace to Society?
Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood, yeah, I said Menace to Society. It was Boys in the Hood. Just the way that the cop was just acting, and I think it was even in that movie Slim. Was it that time Slim? Yeah, and the way that they were acting and things like that, you know, y'all shouldn't be acting like that, man. You're supposed to have better home training than that. So, you know, we could go all day and night on this, but that made me 38 hot because I was disappointed. But then, as I was saying this Sunday, some of the predominant culture, our white brothers and sisters, the ones that don't really have empathy for black people, because a lot of them do, but the ones that don't, their perspective on this is, see, I told you it ain't all about us. Y'all do it too. Y'all do it too.
Y'all do it too.
So what can I say to that? And you know how we are as a community, man. We don't like nobody embarrassing us. This was sad and embarrassing, and no, we're not keeping the same energy for this.
No.
Because it's our own. So that's why it's been muted a little bit. And yes, it's going to be out of the news. It's not going to be, if it was all white officers doing this, you better believe it'll be Mississippi burning 3 times over. But it should be, you know, Mississippi burning 3 times over for this too.
Yeah.
Because if there's anybody that should love us, it should be us.
Yeah.
We're the image bearers of Christ.
Yeah.
Very disappointing. Very disappointing. And then let's go ahead and let's lighten it up a little bit. So my prayers to the Nichols family. I hope and pray that you get justice. I believe that they will. The police chief, to my knowledge, who is a black female, she did handle it very swiftly. She got them all, brought charges, and there's pending charges. She disbanded the unit or the department that had those particular officers, and they moved at an extraordinarily fast pace. It didn't take months and months and months.
Yeah.
This was all done before 30 days.
And I think
So shout out to the police chief in Memphis.
yeah, and I think they were mindful of what's happened in the past, and it was very intentional on how they charged them.
Yeah, definitely. It just really isn't any excuse. You shouldn't come off doing things that way, man. It's not good.
Nah.
So now, as we kind of pivot forward, one of the things I definitely want to share with everybody is the meme of the day. Lord have mercy, the meme of the day. So the meme of the day is follow. You go ahead and you shout this one out because you got better eyes than I do.
When you wake up in the morning, but you need a few minutes to just lay there and mentally prepare yourself for another day at work.
Yeah,
Adult
Jamari,
life.
is this you? You said no. You be ready to get up. You say you pop up like the spring post. How about you, Al? Hey, you know what? When you got mouths to feed, you just gotta just go ahead and get up out of the bed. You just be like, you just like fight in the air. You fight in the air, right?
Yeah.
So that is the meme of the day. This happens to be my alter ego. Lady Martin and I love watching all the Shrek movies, and so in my household, I'm also affectionately known as the ogre. one of my favorite characters of all time, and they're getting ready to come out with a new movie soon as well.
Yeah.
So now let's go ahead and get into our main topic as we kind of round out the night on tonight. And this is our main one. You can go ahead and put that graphic on the screen, which is how to build yourself and others. How to build yourself and others. And so at this moment in time, I'm just going to listening, and my brother next to me is going to make some comments, ask some questions, and then we'll just take it from there and end out for the night.
Yeah, man. You know, so the way I'm gonna hit you with it, like I said, I got some words that I'm gonna throw at you, and I just want to kind of like just pick your brain on them.
Okay.
Like just whatever comes to your mind when I say these words, right? So like the first word that pops in my mind is deductive reasoning. So when I say that to you, what comes to your mind?
Okay, so let's build the foundation and then let's go there.
Okay.
So when you are building yourself and you are trying to improve yourself, there are certain ways. There's this skill that I learned in college, and it has been around for quite some time, and it's called critical thinking, right? So critical thinking is extremely important when you are trying to solve problems, or you're trying to be creative and you're trying to, really bring a solution to the table, right? When it comes to bettering of ourselves, success for your family, the career that you choose, being a better person, how to deal with adversity, all of those things are key life skills that are very important. And one of those aspects is critical thinking. And so when I think of deductive reasoning, you have two types of reasoning. You have inductive reasoning and you have deductive reasoning. So deductive reasoning is when you have a whole bunch of different options and then you're just trying to narrow it down to one specific option. Kind of like typically what we do with our wives when we're trying to figure out what they want to eat when it's time for them to go out to eat. They say, I am hungry, and I have to figure out, okay, based on all, I'll just tease. Based on all of these options, and I know Deacon Pitt, I'm going to put him out there, I know Deacon Pitt can attest to this. What are we going to think about? What are we going to decide to eat? And then of all the options, we just end up with the same thing that you ordered last time.
Yeah.
We like all those options, right? So again, deductive reasoning is a good skill within critical thinking that allows for you to look at all the options that are out there, and then doing your research, taking the time out to look up the background, weighing out the pros and cons until you finally come down to a singular option or two options that you're going to go with, or not. Yeah. And from a biblical standpoint, God, when you pray and you ask for wisdom, then he also will help you to narrow down things. Is this something that's going to be pleasing to God? Is it not? Is this going to be something that's detrimental to me and my family? Is it not? This is something that's going to be counterproductive, or is it not?
Yeah.
Is it spiritual or is it just wisdom based? Things of that nature. So it's taking a bunch of options and then narrowing it down.
Yeah, because I noticed, like, you know, especially us as young folks, man, like, it's like we put a whole bunch of things on our plate, and then we just try and tackle them all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like you have so many thoughts, and you just allow all those thoughts to run through your mind. You know what I mean? And I just feel like, because what I see right here is it's a logical process in which a conclusion is based on the coordinates of multiple premises that are generally assumed to be true.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's just like we putting all these things in our mind, and it's like I think just kind of narrowing it down. You say narrowing it down to one thing, and then just determining whether or not that's gonna work or not. Because I don't think we see things through or we think it out. I think we just be like, okay, I'm finna go play basketball. You pick up the basketball and you go play. But where am I gonna go play? What's the weather looking like? Is it gonna, you know, who's out there and stuff?
Critical
like that.
thinking.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So another thing that comes to my mind, right? And I always hear people say this, especially like I would say famous people or people of power, like controlling your narrative. Like, why is that important?
Well, and you know, again, as we kind of build together, the narrative. First of all, if you ever heard of a narrator or narrative type of format, it's almost like you telling a story in the form of your writing, and a narrative format is very different from, you know, for all of your college people that are out there, from like qualitative reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and then you have the narrative format. So some of them are fact based, and then narrative based is kind of like a story. Like the Bible is like really in a narrative format in many instances. Right? It tells a story. So controlling the narrative is something to where, as a young person or any person, when you are trying to make decisions in life, there are going to be forces that are out there that are going to try to push you or to influence you. Okay. So there are some narratives, like the narrative that a lot of young people are dealing with today is, how do I, or what is my stance on the LGBTQ community?
Oh yeah.
Because there is a large narrative or meta narrative that is out there that if I do not support or endorse, then I'm a hateful person. Mm-hmm. And as a black person, when it is juxtaposed to that particular community, the things that we are struggling and striving for are no better than what they are striving for. Yeah. Because so they have been compared quite a bit. You see it a lot on social media, to where if I say that I'm not for this, well, you should know better because your people were once in slavery too. And that's kind of like a backhanded comment that sometimes people who are of the large persuasion that happen to be liberal, that's their backhanded comment, saying that, well, we're persecuted too. Well, I don't know whether or not you are of a specific lifestyle or of a specific preference in regards to who you sleep with, but I can't hide this. I don't have, this is not my, black is, for many of us, we would prefer not to be black in this country, honestly, right?
Yeah.
You know, with all the stuff that we have to go to, I'm just saying, I love being black, just to set the record straight. But sometimes the pressure that you go through in regards to racism, that whole narrative, that's like an example of a narrative. Another narrative, another way of looking at a narrative is almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Or and sometimes in culture you have different words that kind of mean the same thing. Right? Yeah. So the narrative is like an overall theme. What's the theme of this family? Everybody's in poverty. You're in grandma's house. Everybody stay in grandma's house. Nobody's going to leave. This is the only thing that we have that's paid for. Generational curse. That's another thing. That's like these are themes. A theme of control, influence. I'm in the hood. What is the narrative of the hood? I got to be a dope boy. I got to sell my body. I got to get, you know, butt shots, BBLs, you know, they even got stuff for men now. I don't even know what you call that. But anyway, they got all these things that are out there because of the influences of your environment. And everybody has to deal with that. And so what you see a lot of times online is that you have people who are trying to see not what the overarching narrative, but what is the meta narrative, or what is the underlying story, or what is the truth in the midst of all of the influences. Because not everything is a conspiracy. A lot of it is people lack wisdom. We have a tremendous amount of information, but we lack wisdom. And so wisdom will allow for you to take, as the old people would say, eat the meat and spit out the bones. Yeah. Eat the meat and spit out the bones is the answer to how to make sure that you're not caught up in the narrative.
Yeah.
especially if it's destructive to your family, your psyche, your your spiritual walk with God.
Yeah. Because it's like I always, especially when you hear people say control the narrative, I always feel like it comes out in the defense mechanism point. Like, oh yeah, I just got to control my narrative, so people ain't out there talking about me in the wrong way. But in a sense, I just feel like it's like, I guess getting in front of it. You know what I mean? Making sure somebody just understands who you are, what you
Yeah,
live, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's important. I posted something online that kind of touches on exactly what you're saying, and I said the following: your worth is not diminished because of someone else's opinion.
Yeah.
Be great. Your worth is not diminished because of somebody else's opinion, even if that opinion is built with facts. There's a lot of people who sees on facts, like we say, facts. That's facts. But there's the difference between the fact and then the truth. Fact is, your boy graduated from high school with a 2.3 GPA, and I was on provisional status at Florida A&M University. And I flunked my very first semester with a 1.37 GPA. I'll never forget about it. But the truth is, once I got my head on straight, buckled down, be all that God called me to be, many people who had high grades that used to taunt me about the way that I talk. I used to be taunted for the way that I talk because I didn't know as many words as everybody else when I first got to college. To me seeing some of the same people who used to pick on me in college, and I see them at the Atlantis in the Bahamas, and I'm just looking at them. I was like, well, look at y'all. Because the truth is, God favored me. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And when God favors you, He can open up doors that no man can shut.
Hey, that's a fact.
And He can put you in great places regardless of what you do in the classroom. And no, that's nothing against you getting good grades, because I got good grades too. But it was just extra hard for me. So God said, you know what? Let me go ahead and help your boy out, because I have a greater calling on your life.
Yeah. So like, even in talking about that, right? One thing that popped in my mind was like purpose and value. Like, this was something I struggled with, right? Especially when I stopped teaching at the school. I stopped teaching at the school, and I was just rolling around. I know I got the job at the barbershop, and I can do that, right? But then I just felt like I was not working towards my purpose, nor was I building value. And then it took me a while to even figure out what was my purpose. Like, what is my purpose? And do I even have anything of value? How do I build value, and how do I find my purpose? And I think that was a tough question to answer. I ain't even going to say that I have the answer to it, right? But then it's like, how do I find my purpose, and how do I build value?
There's a lot of people that are asking that question. Even in our congregation here at the church, I know that there's people who struggle with validation and identity. And having somebody to tell them that what they are doing is good and it's okay.
Yeah.
And when you constantly need validation, there is something that typically is in the past, or your outlook on life is where you just don't believe that you can. It's almost like a form of like self-sabotage and self-deprecation. Nobody's holding you back, but you're holding yourself back because either what has happened to you or based off of an opinion of something that somebody has said.
Yeah.
And so the way that you find your purpose, as far as what I have learned, is typically centers around your gifts and your talents. Your gifts and your talents are things that you are born with, that God, in my belief system, that God gives you inside of your backpack, which is inside of your spirit, when you dispatched here on the planet.
Yeah.
And oftentimes what you are naturally good at is a clue in what your purpose is. The methodology can be very different, but like, say, for example, I always like to tell people how things work and how things are to get done.
Yeah.
So I found out that I'm a teacher, right? So when I found out what my purpose was, the way that God affirmed that is there was a bunch of doors that opened as far as teaching is concerned. Because I wanted to be in computers, but being a computer teacher is how I got my first job.
Yeah.
And so when that door swung open, I didn't have to worry about, man, am I going to get fired? Because this is what I was about to say. this will help you. Just because you make it look easy doesn't mean it didn't take any effort.
That's true. That's true.
Your gift is when you have a gift, you make what is difficult for people who do not have that gift, you make it easy. And sometimes people will be envious of you. It's like people, sometimes wonder, it's like, how in the world can you do all of this stuff so quickly? It's like I have some leisure time. I was teasing my wife the other day. I said, you know what, I'm at the place now to where I'm semi-retired, to where I can work, but then I can also take some more time off.
Yeah.
And with other people who are still in the grind, sometimes people are envious of that. They're like, man, you should be doing something right now instead of just chilling. But what people don't realize is that you don't know how much time I had to put into my craft. I put a lot of time into my craft as far as teaching. I remember I was terrified of public speaking.
Yeah.
I never thought I was going to do this at all. But then something clicked. I figured out what my purpose was. And then I took those things, I blended them together, and then I had a career that's almost spanning, 22, 23 years.
Yeah.
That supported me and my family to where now I'm being sought out for those specific things, and I get paid to do it, and I make it look easy. But it ain't easy.
Yeah.
Because even when you have a gift or a talent, you still have to hone your craft.
Every day.
You still got to hone your craft.
Every day.
You want to be a celebrity barber, guess what you got to do? You're going to have to invest. You're going to have to you're going to have to not just look for a seat at the table. You're going to have to make your own.
I'm going to have to push my way in, force my way there,
Yeah,
and
man.
then be ready when they call.
Yeah. Put some stuff online, headshots, them little things that be going around the head. Let me give you a 360 degree. I see all these people on social media showing their skills and getting endorsements from different types of barber equipment and things like that that's going on. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like Deacon Penn, he has a gift for packages and organization and logistics. I knew that. I saw his gift in that specific area,
Yeah.
and he has been in that field for quite some time. Time for you to be a manager.
You got to step
Yeah,
up.
you shake it up, but it's time for you to be a manager, right? So, and see, that's another thing about gifts too. When you have a gift, people want to see you succeed, even amongst those that don't.
Yeah.
Because your success, you being successful, is going to help pull me up too. And it's going to open doors for me too. So I'm going to push you. All this other stuff like that. Why not have an entry in the DSMV? Why not? See, I can speak that language, right?
Yeah.
Why not have an interact? What's wrong with going to medical school? It's just gonna be so hard. I just don't know. A psychiatrist, I just don't know. It's just too much school. I got family, all of that. Wait a minute. If God called you to do that,
You got to go.
then go ahead while you're on this planet and push yourself to the maximum in the area of your gift.
I noticed when, like, because you remember when before I even started cutting hair, we had that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You got me the information, and everything has been like smooth sailing from there. You know what I mean? Because it honestly, I just feel like I'm order my steps in His name. I feel like I'm just walking in His purpose. You know what I mean? And sometimes I get scared. A lot of times I get scared, especially when I go up there to teach. You know what I mean? Like, I get nervous, but at the end of the day, it's like preparation allows you to be some form of perfect. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it takes the nerves and the jitters out. But let me ask you a question. So you think you think you bet the bank on you or what?
No, I don't bet the bank on me because I'll be bankrupt
Yeah.
if I just bet on me. I bet on God.
Mm.
I put all of my chips on the table on God because He's the one who can sustain me, even though I know that I could go through a breaking point in my life, and I did.
Yeah.
Went through breaking points in my life. We talked about that before, about the anxiety attacks, and I was just trying to be all things to all people. I used to hear that a lot in ministry. You have to be all things to all people. No, you have to be relatable.
Yeah.
You can't be all things to all people, or else you're gonna be dead. The only one who could be all things to all people is God.
Mm-hmm. So then, right, at what point did you start trusting yourself and trusting that what you are picking and choosing to put your time in is going to be beneficial?
When God affirmed, well, number one, I prayed. The most significant breakthroughs I've got in my life has come through prayer and they're waiting on him. And they're recognizing God's yes from God's no. When God says yes in my life, me personally, he just opens up a whole bunch of doors. And then I get into a field to where I make it look easy.
Yeah.
Because I know this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. Like, for example, I started out teaching in technology in 2001. Did it till 2006. I wanted to do more things with my hands after that. So I spent about 10 years getting all of my hands-on skills, right?
Yeah.
Then the industry started changing about 2014, 15, 16. It was very, certain things, I saw that the technology was changing, but I also saw that I'm not 20 anymore. So I need to get into an industry that's going to allow for me to take all of the wealth of knowledge I've gained over the last 15 years, and I now need to go into a field that's going to allow for me to express those talents. And so I end up doing exactly what my purpose was, which is teaching.
Yeah.
So I had to sometimes, but teaching sometimes requires training. You have to go into the trenches
Yes, you do.
because you could, if you can't teach if you never cut hair before.
Yeah, you need
You can't
experience.
teach somebody how to cut hair if you've never cut hair before.
Mhm.
So you have to have experience, but you also have to have this mouthpiece to be able to paint a picture of what you have been doing for all this time, because people need that. I have at any other time that I know, especially with Generation Z, they are in desperate need of teachers,
Yeah.
because a lot of people are throwing information at them, but no one is giving them the why. The what is all over the internet. The why. Why are you doing this? What is the reasoning behind this? What is the cost for this? We want a lot of people to be coached, but nobody wants to teach anymore. But first natural, then spiritual. There's a teacher shortage in our school system. We see that, right? Because they're desperately needed, but they're undervalued.
Yeah.
In the spirit, it's the same way. There's a desperate need for teaching, but it's undervalued. We want people to just tell us prophetically where our lives are going, and then we don't need to go to church no more because I'm walking in my purpose. I don't need no pastor for that. But what ends up happening is that you have a whole bunch of charlatans that's pushing you into a destiny that's not even yours. You live in somebody else's dream, and you got soothsayers that are taking all the money out of your pockets, creating all these mini cults inside of churches, and they're leading you to destruction. And then you get upset when things are not coming to fruition.
Yeah.
In the scriptures, as I close on this particular point, the prophets in the Bible that were God's prophets had a 100% success rate. I heard one person say, well, just because your prophecy doesn't work just means that you just didn't understand it. Your prophecy didn't work because you didn't receive it the right way. So it wasn't that I was wrong. You just messed up on what I said. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
What are we doing out here in these streets?
Man, I don't think they know. They just moving, going with the trends. You know, what was I at right here? Oh, yo, so what you was talking about, right? It made me think back. Like, I'm so thankful for my mom, my grandma, my aunts, all the women in my family, man. You know, because my grandma had them in church from day one. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And when I think about it, man, my mom always say, like, I used to get in trouble back in the day. And whenever I get out of trouble, or whenever I skate past the trouble and you think it's going to be worse than what it is, but God saved you, she always say, man, you better be thankful you got a prayer-driven family. Now, I always used to be, when I was younger, I'd be like, yeah. But then as I got older, man, like one thing I saw was how close my grandma was with God. Like before my grandma passed away, God allowed her to see everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she was ready, she took the mask off and she passed away on her own timing. You know what I mean? And I always look at that like, man, God allowed her to live the life that she wanted to live, but she was so obedient towards him, you know. And then I see how my mom moves and everything like that. So my thing is like, how important is a prayer-driven family? How important is prayer in the household?
Okay. So I think it's of the utmost importance because the Bible talks about how people put, you know, our lives have to be on a firm foundation. It's like an old gospel song I used to hear with on the radio late at night with you know, J. Vernon McGee, and the song would come on as an intro, "Your Firm Foundation." I would always try to look for that clip, but I could never find it anyway. The Bible talks about how a double-minded person is unstable in all their ways, and how if we don't put our foundation and our faith in God, it's like having sand up under your feet. It's like quicksand. It's like the old Baptist song, old hymn, you know, "On Christ a solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand, all other ground is sinking sand." And if you ever tried to run on the beach when the sand is like really, really thick, it's gonna wear you out. You're doing things up under your own effort. Now you could just try to power through, but there's nothing like smooth sailing.
Hey.
There's nothing like smooth sailing. And so with God, even though you still have to go through hills and valleys, I'd rather go through hills and valleys in a boat than hills and valleys on my own. There's still going to be storms. There's still going to be stuff that you're going to have to deal with. So prayer is important because that's a foundational element. Because when you do not have any answers, God is the only one that can give you a breakthrough or help you navigate through the terrain when there is no human answer left.
Yeah. And it's so easily to get detached from God. You know what I mean? Because especially as men in this world, like a black man living in this world right now, the first thing you want to do is take control.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the first thing you want to do. You want to take control. And I'm a testament to it, man. Every time I take control, I lose control. You know what I mean? And it's like my mom, I pray every time I see that car leave the house that you come back home.
Yeah.
And, you know, I never realized how important that was. But you realize when you got people praying for you, man, you got to start to, one, figure out what your purpose is, figure out what your value is. You got to learn how to move different. You got to trust in yourself because you got other people, like, banking on you to win. Like, I know when I started cutting hair, at first my mom, she wasn't rocking with me like that. But then she started to let me cut her hair, and it'd take an hour.
Yeah.
And then I started to get it down to 45 minutes, then to 30 minutes. Now I cut it in like 10, 15 minutes, and it's always perfect, at least in her eyes. You know what I mean? It was because I put the time in. You know, I started to realize the value of what I was doing. And then just knowing that she's sitting there rooting for me and praying for me to do good, you know, it just made me, like, move different, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, I benefit not only from a prayer-driven family, but a prayer-driven church. You know what I mean? Because I ain't gonna lie, you know, when I'm distanced from church, things go wrong. But when I'm back in church, things go good. And that's why I even immerse myself even more in the church, because it's like you start to see how life goes for you. So it's like, yeah, I'm trusting God and I'm just letting God do his thing, you know. And I see the benefits of it all.
Yeah, and you haven't seen nothing yet when you have a godly spouse as your support system. You talk about takeoff. One of the main things that God gave me was a loving wife that has supported me for 2+ decades now. And she has told me many times, you probably always will always make a whole lot of money, but you'll never spend it on anybody. You'll never go nowhere. You'll just be at your house.
Yeah.
You'll never go anywhere. You'll just be at your house. Just go ahead and just working, and sitting on money or just doing something silly, and then that's it. So that's why after I went through all those breakups, I was like, you know what? I want to build a family, but I want to build on a strong foundation. And so that's when I asked God. I said, God, give me someone, bless me with someone with this particular criteria. And I wrote it down, and I prayed over it. And then sometime later, God presented. He took from my rib the closest thing to my heart. He took a piece of my heart and put it before me.
Yeah.
Even though I get on her nerves sometimes, and I could be hard-headed, bull-headed, stubborn, cantankerous, a big giant ogre, and you know.
It's part of the package.
I'm still the best that she's ever had.
Yeah. And she deals with you too, because
She deals with me.
I be seeing you in those pictures. I'm like, man, this man just not smiling. You don't even be looking happy. You just like,
Because my brain would be like, you know, I got an image to uphold.
Yeah. You
But as I've gotten older, I'm starting to smile more, and she loves it when I smile. She be like, "Oh, look at me," but I'm like, "Okay, I smile, and it is for you, baby. It's for you. I'm gonna smile while I still have teeth."
Man, so check it, right? This is we gonna kind of go back, right, when you did the meme of the day.
5 minutes, 5-minute warning.
Yeah, when you did the meme of the day.
Uh-huh.
I remember this video because I did the ogre thing. I was laying in bed, and then I just got on the phone, started watching some TikTok videos, and I seen this video. The dude took a chick out, and I got a question behind it, right? The dude took the chick out. He was late. He was an hour late to the date. He was like, "Don't worry about it. I'm gonna make up for it." So he paying for dinner for her and him. When the waiter come to give the check, she was like, "Okay, I want to order 2 more steak and potatoes for her kids."
I heard about that.
Yeah, and Buddy was sitting there. He was like, "I'm not paying for no food for your kids. I'm gonna pay for me and you, but I ain't paying for no food for your kids."
Were the kids already there?
No,
They
was
just
on a
popped
date.
up. They just pulled up.
No, they was on a date. She was getting 2 to-go orders to take home to the kids. Now my question,
How old was this person?
man, they have, I would say mid-30s. You know what I'm saying?
Now, if you're in your mid-30s, you know better than that. Now, okay, go ahead.
My question, and I know this is gonna be a tough one.
Challenge flag.
It's are men obligated to pay?
This must be the rapid round. Either that, you trying to get me in trouble. Okay, so
We gonna end with that.
okay, so I'm gonna give you two answers. One from young Andre, and one from seasoned Andre now. So in my 20s, I would be like, man, no. But if I had it,
Yeah.
and let's say, for example, if I liked her, and I have a big heart, right? Because I would even say, even in my young 20s, because back then I just ain't had nothing. But now, if I have a little something, and I knew that, she's a single mom, and we talked about the kids, and they're in the house right now and whatnot, and she asked me, hey, can I get something for the kids? Then the provider in me is going to be like, yeah, I got it. No problem. Go ahead. Get something for you and the kids you take.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
But I have to have some level of affection for the person. I have to really genuinely like her, and we have had to talk. But if you just pull up on me, we just dating like just 2 times, and you be like, yeah, I got like 4 kids at home, so, I know you balling like that or whatnot. But you got it. So can I go ahead and order this stuff? I mean, that's what, real men do. And I'm going to be like, nah, I think that we're just going to end right here. Maitre D, waiter, come here. I will say, if you want anything extra, then you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And then that would be my last date.
Yeah.
Because that means that you're using me. But if it's something where your children need it, and I care about them, we've spent some time together, I'm already a father figure at heart, I'm already a giver at heart, and you already have my heart, and even if it's early in the dating stage, then just me, I'd never want kids to go home.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, hey, well, I may not get you a steak, but let's go ahead and get you 2 hamburgers.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. The steak burger. I get you a steak burger from. I could take you to Steak and Shake.
Get a steak burger. We're not finna get the steak from here though.
If it's a need, yeah. But sometimes I think people just be trying people, and then other times I think people just be trying to detonate a bomb in the date because they not feeling the person. They just do something just outrageous, so they won't try to date them.
Yeah.
Who knows how people do things?
Man.
So yeah, flag on the play for that.
That's a flag on the play.
Flag on the play. Yeah. Challenge flag and the regular flag.
Yeah, because I looked at that and that had me just thinking like, man,
What is this?
What, you feel me? Because I'm not going to front. Like, if I got it, I got it. If I don't, I'm going to let you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We might have to go half today. You feel what I'm saying? We might have to
Yeah,
go
we're
half
gonna have to
today.
go half. We call it going Dutch.
Yeah.
Right.
We might have
But
to go Dutch.
for me, I as far as like in that remaining time, I was just telling somebody the other day, and I did want to end on this note. So I have a friend that did some artwork presentations for Club 5 like many years ago, and his name is EJ Nieves, and he has what you would call this 1-year no dating contract with God.
Oh, I seen that.
Yeah, and it says, and I follow. Maybe y'all could pull it up in the back there really quickly, but it was like, I will not date for 1 year from today's date. I will work hard on my spiritual, mental, physical, and financial health in preparation for marriage. In other words, he's trying to prepare himself to be a good husband. I will seek God's guidance and wisdom on courtship. I will love myself. I will respect myself. I will honor and steward my singleness for God's glory.
Yeah.
So that whole, and this is a man that's doing this, and I think this is so awesome because I have not did any dating out in these streets. I've been out of the loop, y'all, for 25 years, literally 25 years. And when I see what my son's dealing with, because people are still people, so that's the same. Humans ain't gonna change, but the platforms and the methodologies have changed because now you got social media. Everybody got balloons and front and the back.
Straight up.
Everybody's going to Brazil. Everybody's doing this. Everybody's trying to be an influencer. Everybody's trying to be a baller. You got Andrew Tate and you got Kevin Sanders. You got Tanya TKO, and then you got other people who are feminists. You don't need no man. You want a man. You want a man and a woman, polyamory, polymorphous, anthropomorphic. It's a whole bunch of stuff out there, and it's a bunch of information that is coming in, So it is not easy.
Yeah.
However, the narrative is that it's not easy finding anybody. You got to go on christianmingle.com, Tinder. When I think of Tinder, I think about Tenderoni. So that's how long I've been out the gate. About the Tenderoni, But
Tenderoni.
at the end of the day, it still comes down to you asking God to send you someone that will compliment you. And in the meantime, while you are waiting, just like this young man, he is grooming himself to be a husband,
Yeah.
hanging around married men, becoming a suitable candidate. That is so, so important because if you want a good wife, then you got to be a good husband.
Yeah.
You got to be a good husband. That's one of the last things my dad taught me. He was like, you need to be a good husband.
And your circle.
And I'm trying to raise my sons to be good husbands too.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's something that's necessary because I want a strong family legacy. And if it works, it works. But at least I'm going to try to tell them as best as I can.
Yeah, and your circle is important. Your circle is
circle.
important, like, for one, how you are as a man, the way you're going to think, the way you're going to be pushed, just the way you would even trust in yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes your values will even be determined by your circle.
Yeah.
Your purpose will be determined by your circle, So your circle is very, very important,
Yeah, it's very important. So whether you divorce, bouncing back, getting back out into the dating scene, it is not easy. But people are still getting married.
Mm-hmm.
Blended families is not as taboo as they used to be. So there are a lot of good things to go upon today. If you have kids, consider dating somebody with kids. If you have no kids, still consider dating somebody with kids. But you can also say you don't want anybody with kids, no matter what. However, when you get older, the pool starts changing because as people get older, life is just life. So, number one piece of advice as we close out here is if you're looking to build, work on yourself and pray God that God will give you affirmations in regards to your knowledge, skills, and abilities, and hone in on that craft, whether it's school or working things out with your hands, your back or your brain.
Yeah, and I would say be intentional and understand the power of your mind.
Yeah.
A lot of things that you think they can't come play into existence. So be intentional with how you pray. Be intentional how you think, because it will manifest. And if you trust it and you keep speaking it into existence, it's definitely gonna happen. It might happen faster than you think.
Yeah, it sure will. It sure will. Well, everybody, we have finished our show for the evening. We got started a little bit late because we had a couple of things that we need to work on from an engineering standpoint, but we got those things ironed out.
Amen.
So I hope and pray that things were really cool. And as we bring our first episode back, season 2, episode number 1, I hope you learned a lot. I hope it was entertaining. Hope you some things challenged you, because I know we talked about some hot button issues, some hot potato issues, like ooh, it was like really, really hot issues. But as always, it's just about a conversation. As always. Any other closing thoughts?
Yeah, man. Check us out on Facebook, Divine Truth Christian Center. Check us out on YouTube. And leave a comment. Leave a comment so we can engage. If it was something that touched your heart, say something so we can respond back. And that's what we're here for, man. Positive influence, everybody.
All right. And as always, God bless you. Good night.
See ya.